The World Street Dance Championships had always been a crucible of human potential, but nothing could have prepared the contestants for what was about to unfold on that fateful Saturday afternoon in Tokyo. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez stood center stage, her body coiled like a spring, muscles trembling with potential energy. The underground dance battle was reaching its crescendo. Hundreds of spectators packed into the converted warehouse, their collective breath held in anticipation. Her crew, the Quantum Breakers, had been building to this moment for months. One final move would decide everything. The music pulsed, a complex fusion of Brazilian baile funk, Korean hip-hop, and algorithmic electronic beats that seemed to vibrate at the frequency of human potential. Maya's teammates formed a protective circle around her, their bodies moving with a precision that blurred the line between choreography and combat formation. Then the sky tore open. A massive vessel, sleek yet jagged, nothing like the smooth curves of human spacecraft, erupted through the warehouse roof. Molten metal rained down, structural beams crumpled like paper, and a tsunami of destruction cascaded toward the dancers. But humans don't freeze. They adapt. In less than a heartbeat, the dancers transformed. What moments ago had been an intricate performance became a living, breathing defense mechanism. Maya's final freeze frame became a pivot point. Her body, suspended in an impossible angle, became a fulcrum of survival. Jae-sung, the crew's youngest member, used his momentum from a previous power move to redirect falling debris. A massive steel beam that would have crushed a group of spectators instead glanced off his rotating body, his breakdancing footwork becoming a tactical deflection system. Rodrigo, built like a Brazilian capoeirista, used the warehouse's remaining support columns as launch points. His body became a human gyroscope, creating a dynamic shield that redirected falling chunks of concrete and metal. The Zarn survivors stumbled from their crash site, their multi-jointed bodies tangled in the wreckage. Translucent exoskeletons fractured, bioluminescent blood pooling around them. Their sensory appendages, something between antennae and advanced scanning equipment, twitched in absolute confusion. Their advanced combat algorithms had no protocol for this. Humans were supposed to be predictable, fragile, linear in their movement, but these dancers moved like liquid mercury, like living algorithms that rewrote themselves in real time. Each movement was a calculation, each step a potential weapon, each gesture a communication more complex than any language. Maya's eyes locked with the primary Zarn survivor, a commander, judging by the intricate biometallic insignia embedded in its exoskeleton. For a moment, time suspended. Two species, two completely different evolutionary paths, communicating through nothing more than a single charged look. The Zarn's translation device sparked and fritzed. Its complex language recognition systems were breaking down, unable to process the biomechanical language of human movement. "Everyone okay?" Maya called out, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. Affirmative responses came in a chorus of breaths, body movements, subtle hand signals, a communication more nuanced than words. Outside, emergency services were approaching. News drones buzzed overhead. But inside the warehouse, the dancers had already begun cleaning up, moving with a synchronicity that made their previous performance look like a rehearsal. The Zarn commander watched, its sensory appendages recording every detail. Something fundamental had just changed in the universe's understanding of humanity. They weren't just dancers. They were something else entirely. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura's laboratory looked like a fevered dream of technology and art. Holographic displays flickered with impossible complexity, capturing every microscopic movement of human dancers suspended in zero-gravity chambers. Quantum sensors the size of dust motes tracked muscle fiber contractions, neural impulses, and spatial awareness with a precision that would make most military AI systems look like children's toys. The crash footage from the Tokyo Dance Championship played on a central screen, analyzed frame by frame. What had appeared to be chaos was revealing itself as something far more intricate. "It's not just movement," Hiroshi muttered, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. "It's a language, a complete communication system. The global scientific community had been summoned, virtually, of course, to witness what might be the most significant breakthrough in human understanding since the discovery of neuroplasticity. Representatives from every major research institution watched with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Jae-sung, the young dancer from the Quantum Breakers, sat strapped into a complex biomechanical assessment rig. Electrodes mapped his neural pathways, quantum sensors tracked his micro-movements, and a series of impossible challenges waited to be solved. The first test was simple on the surface. A complex maze designed by the world's top robotics engineers, filled with unexpected obstacles, hidden pathways, and multiple potential solutions. Most test subjects would approach it methodically, mapping routes, calculating risks. Jae-sung danced through it. His movements weren't just a response to the maze. They were a continuous real-time algorithm, each step a calculation, each gesture a predictive model. Where a traditional approach would take minutes, he solved the maze in seconds, his body moving with a fluidity that defied conventional understanding of problem-solving. Neural plasticity meets kinetic intelligence, Hiroshi whispered, the quantum computers behind him generating visualizations that looked more like abstract art than scientific data. The breakthrough came when they overlaid the movement patterns of different dance styles: breakdancing, capoeira, ballet, traditional martial arts, against various problem-solving scenarios. Each style revealed itself as a complex adaptive system, a living algorithm that encoded survival strategies into pure movement. Breakdancing emerged as the most fascinating. Its seemingly chaotic movements were actually hyper-efficient survival protocols. The power moves that looked like impossible physical feats were actually sophisticated defensive and offensive strategies. A freeze wasn't just a pose, it was a complete tactical reset, a moment of maximum potential energy. Capoeira revealed itself as a complete communication system disguised as a dance. Its movements encoded information about terrain, threat assessment, and collective survival strategies. What the Portuguese slave communities had developed as a method of preserving fighting techniques was actually a revolutionary form of distributed intelligence. "We're not just looking at dance," Dr. Nakamura announced to the global audience. "We're looking at the most advanced biological computing system in the known universe." The Zarn diplomatic team, still recovering from their crash, watched the presentation with mounting horror. Their most advanced predictive algorithms looked like child's play compared to the organic, adaptive system humans had been developing for centuries. Jae-sung finished his final test, a scenario designed to be unsolvable. He completed it while performing a full breakdancing routine, his body solving complex spatial and temporal problems, as if they were nothing more than another step in a dance. The quantum computers behind Hiroshi broke down, not from a computational error, but from the sheer complexity of what they were trying to process. Humanity had just revealed its first truly alien technology, and it had been hiding in plain sight on dance floors around the world. The video went live at 3:47 UTC, and within 17 minutes, it had crashed every major social media platform on Earth and 3 alien communication networks. Recorded from multiple angles, the footage showed the Quantum Breakers dance battle interrupted by the Zarn ship's catastrophic landing. But this wasn't just another viral video. This was a revelation that would rewrite humanity's understanding of itself. Sophia Reyes, a data analyst for the Global Information Network, watched the upload metrics with growing disbelief. The video wasn't just spreading. It was metastasizing across digital platforms with a speed that defied conventional viral transmission. What made the footage extraordinary wasn't the alien ship or the destruction. It was the dancers. Frame by frame, the video showed something impossible. When the ship crashed, the dancers didn't run. They didn't panic. Instead, they transformed the entire warehouse into a living, breathing defensive system. Bodies became shields. Movement became a tactical response. What looked like a dance was actually a hyper-advanced collective survival mechanism. Within hours, underground dance communities worldwide started receiving mysterious communications, Not from government agencies or military recruiters. Those would come later, but from a network that seemed to exist in the shadows of human communication. In Rio de Janeiro, a capoeira group received encrypted messages hidden in dance notation. In Seoul, a b-boy crew found recruitment offers embedded in their social media direct messages. In New York, street dancers discovered that their seemingly random practice sessions were being analyzed by systems far more complex than standard surveillance. The global dance underground began to realize they were something more than performers. They were the unexpected guardians of a uniquely human capability. At the United Nations emergency session, diplomats struggled to comprehend the implications. The Zarn diplomatic team, now recovering in a specially designed quarantine facility, demanded explanations that human science couldn't easily provide. Your dancers, the lead Zarn diplomatic attaché, told the UN Security Council, its translators struggling to convey the mixture of fear and respect, are not performers. They are a distributed biological computing system that defies our understanding of individual and collective intelligence. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura's analysis went viral simultaneously. His quantum computational breakdown of the dance battle revealed patterns that looked more like advanced military algorithms than artistic performance. Each movement was a calculation. Each gesture a potential defensive or offensive strategy. The dance communities themselves began to change. What was once a subculture became something more. A network of individuals who understood they possessed a unique form of human potential. Maya Rodriguez found herself at the center of a global phenomenon. The quantum breakers were no longer just a dance crew. They were now being studied by military strategists, quantum physicists, and alien diplomatic teams. Their group chat exploded with messages from research institutions, government agencies, and most interestingly, from dance communities around the world who suddenly saw themselves differently. We're not just dancers, Jae-sung messaged the group. We're something else entirely. The viral video had done more than just spread information. It had awakened something in humanity, a recognition that their most artistic expressions were also their most sophisticated survival mechanisms. By the end of the week, dance classes were sold out globally. People weren't just learning moves anymore. They were learning a language that spoke directly to human potential. Humanity had just discovered its most unexpected weapon. And it moved to a beat. The International Movement Warfare Training Facility looked like something between a dance studio, a quantum research center, and a military black site. Located in a classified location that wasn't on any official map, it represented humanity's most ambitious attempt to understand and weaponize their newfound movement intelligence. General Catherine Chen stood behind the reinforced observation glass, her cybernetic eye scanning the complex holographic displays. The simulation was about to begin, a test designed to be unpassable by any conventional military or robotic unit. The environment was a nightmare of continuous transformation. Floors shifted like liquid, walls became permeable one moment and razor-sharp the next. Gravitational fields fluctuated unpredictably. Holographic threats materialized and dematerialized with no warning. Acoustic weapons created disorientation zones. Electromagnetic pulses would randomly disable technological assistance. Most military units, human or alien, would be destroyed within minutes. The test subjects looked nothing like traditional soldiers. A diverse group of dancers from around the world stood at the simulation's entrance. A Brazilian capoeirista, a Korean b-boy, a Russian ballet dancer, a West African traditional dancer, a New York street dancer, and Maya Rodriguez from the Quantum Breakers. No standard military gear, just their bodies, their training, their inherent understanding of movement as a language of survival. Simulation begins in 3, 2, 1, the AI system announced. Chaos erupted. The environment became a living nightmare. Floors liquefied and reformed. Gravity twisted. Holographic enemies appeared from impossible angles. Acoustic weapons created zones of pure disorientation that would paralyze any conventional unit. But these weren't conventional soldiers. The Brazilian capoeirista moved first, his body a fluid algorithm of survival. Where a traditional soldier would seek cover, he transformed the entire environment into a defensive platform. A liquefying floor became a launching mechanism. A gravitational shift became a momentum generator. Jae-sung, the Korean b-boy, turned the electromagnetic disruptions into a dance. Each pulse that would disable a robotic unit became another beat in his survival rhythm. He didn't fight the environment. He integrated with it, his body reading and responding faster than any computer could process. The Russian ballet dancer moved with a precision that made the holographic threats look clumsy. Each movement was a calculated response, her body reading the simulation's potential futures faster than the system could generate them. Maya Rodriguez became the tactical center. Her movements weren't just defensive, they were a living communication network. Each gesture coordinated the team's response, creating a collective intelligence that moved as one organism. 12 minutes into the simulation, every previous test unit would have been destroyed. These dancers weren't just surviving, they were transforming the impossible into a performance. The simulation designers watched in stunned silence. The quantum computers tracking the performance began to overheat, unable to process the complexity of what they were witnessing. "This isn't a military exercise," Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura whispered. "This is a new form of intelligence." General Chen's cybernetic eye flickered. Tactical readouts showed something unprecedented. The dancers weren't just responding to the simulation. They were rewriting its fundamental parameters in real time. When the simulation finally ended, nothing remained of the original testing environment. The dancers stood in the center of what could only be described as a transformed reality, part battlefield, part performance space, entirely beyond previous understanding. Humanity had just demonstrated that its most sophisticated weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to dance with chaos itself. The Galactic Confederation chamber fell silent when the human delegation entered. They didn't walk, they moved. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez led the team, her entrance more statement than arrival. Behind her, representatives from the world's dance communities walked with a collective precision that made the alien diplomats instinctively lean back. The chamber's advanced threat assessment systems went into overdrive, their algorithms struggling to categorize the incoming humans. Ambassador Xerax-9, the senior Zarn diplomatic representative, clicked its exoskeletal appendages in a gesture of barely contained agitation. The preliminary reports had been dismissed as impossible. Now the evidence was walking directly toward them. "Explain," Xerax-9 demanded, its translation device struggling to capture the nuance of human movement. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura stepped forward, a holographic display unfolding from his neural link apparatus. The visualization showed the Tokyo dance battle, the impossible simulation, the quantum computational analysis. A story told through movement, data, and pure potential. Dance, Nakamura began, is not entertainment. It is a distributed intelligence system that humans have been developing for millennia. The alien representatives began to argue simultaneously. Their communication arrays lit up with simultaneous translations, diplomatic protests, and mounting panic. Humans have been hiding something fundamental about their nature. A form of intelligence that defied every known classification. A veteran Zarn military commander, scared from centuries of interstellar conflicts, made a challenge that would change everything. "Prove it," the commander growled, its biomechanical limbs extending a traditional combat invitation. "Demonstrate this, movement intelligence in direct confrontation." The challenge was more than a diplomatic gesture. It was a direct threat, a moment that could escalate into an interstellar incident. Maya Rodriguez stepped forward. The chamber's environmental systems began to shift. What had been a diplomatic meeting space transformed. Gravitational fields adjusted. Acoustic resonators prepared for comprehensive analysis. Every alien sensor focused on the human dancer. She didn't attack. She danced. It started slow, a subtle movement that seemed almost casual. But each gesture contained a universe of information. Her body became a living communication system, translating complex tactical information through pure movement. Where a traditional fighter would punch, she redirected. Where a standard military unit would engage, she transformed the entire conceptual space of conflict. The Zarn commander's combat algorithms began to break down. Its predictive systems, developed over centuries of interstellar warfare, cooled and processed the fluid, adaptive intelligence of human movement. What looked like a dance was actually a complete deconstruction of the commander's entire understanding of combat, communication, and potential. 3 minutes into the demonstration, the commander's advanced combat systems began to overheat. Its neural link arrays sparked and failed. The supposedly invincible Zarn military technology collapsed under the weight of human movement intelligence. Silence filled the chamber. "This," Maya said, her breathing barely elevated, "is how humans survive." The diplomatic recording would later show something unprecedented. The moment wasn't a victory, it was a revelation. Humanity had just demonstrated that its most sophisticated weapon wasn't technology, firepower, or strategic thinking. It was the ability to transform conflict into a dance. The first dance instructor arrived on the Zarn homeworld wrapped in diplomatic immunity and wearing nothing more than a simple tracksuit and a pair of well-worn dance shoes. Professor Elena Rodriguez. No relation to Maya, though the similarity in their last names would become a source of galactic humor, looked nothing like a threat. A veteran street dance instructor from Buenos Aires, she carried with her centuries of cultural knowledge encoded in movement. The Zarn initially treated her arrival as a diplomatic curiosity. Cultural exchanges were common in the galactic community, typically involving academic lectures, art displays, or musical performances. No one expected a dance class to become a revolutionary event. Her first lesson was held in a massive public learning complex, typically used for rigid military and scientific training. The Zarn youth, genetically engineered for specific societal roles, watched with a mixture of confusion and programmed skepticism. "Movement is communication," Elena began, her body already tracing subtle patterns in the air. "Not just between humans, but between you and the world around you." The translation system struggled. Movement as communication. It was a concept entirely foreign to the Zarn's highly structured, algorithmically defined existence. She started with the most basic of breakdancing moves, a simple top rock, a fundamental footwork pattern. Each movement became a lesson in adaptability, in reading and responding to environmental changes. The Zarn students didn't just learn a dance. They began to understand a completely different way of existing. Underground dance communities on other Zarn colonies began to form. What appeared to be simple entertainment venues were actually schools of a new form of intelligence. Young Zarn would gather, ostensibly to learn human dance, but truly to learn a revolutionary way of thinking. Governments tried to shut down these subversive movement schools. But dance, as humans had always known, was impossible to contain. Each dance class became a microcosm of human potential. Breakdancing taught improvisation. Capoeira revealed the art of turning defense into attack. Ballet demonstrated precision and control. Hip-hop showed the power of individual expression within a collective rhythm. The Zarn leadership watched with mounting concern. These weren't just dance classes. They were a complete reimagining of individual and collective potential. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura's research began to circulate through unofficial channels. Scientific papers explained what the dance instructors were practically demonstrating, that human movement was a sophisticated form of distributed intelligence. Each dance style was a complex adaptive system, a way of processing and responding to the world that was light years beyond traditional computational thinking. On 3 separate Zarn colonies, youth-led movements began to challenge their highly stratified social structures. They weren't rebelling through traditional means. They were dancing their way to a new understanding of potential. Elena Rodriguez watched the transformation with a knowing smile. Humanity's most powerful export had never been technology or ideology. It was the ability to move, truly move, through the world. By the time the Zarn leadership realized the full impact, it was too late. The dance had already spread. A cultural revolution disguised as entertainment was reshaping an entire civilization, one movement at a time. Humanity's secret weapon wasn't in its military might. It was in its ability to dance. The Interstellar Movement Challenge transformed from a diplomatic event into a global spectacle that would redefine the understanding of intelligence across known civilizations. Held in a massive zero-gravity arena constructed at the edge of neutral space, the competition brought together teams from 17 different alien species. Each would demonstrate their most advanced form of movement, problem-solving, and adaptive intelligence. The human team stood out, not because of advanced technology or imposing physical presence, but because of their fundamental differences. Maya Rodriguez led the team, a collective of dancers who looked more like an artistic ensemble than a competitive unit. Jae Sung from the Quantum Breakers. Rodrigo, the Brazilian capoeirista. Elena Rodriguez, the street dance instructor who had transformed Zarn youth culture. A Russian ballet dancer. A West African traditional dancer. Each represented a different dialect of human movement. The arena itself was a marvel of technological complexity, a shape-shifting environment that would continuously transform, presenting challenges that would test the limits of physical and cognitive adaptation. Gravitational fields would fluctuate, spatial dimensions would warp, holographic threats would materialize with no warning. Most teams arrived with advanced technological augmentations, robotic exoskeletons, neural link combat systems, predictive AI assistance. The human team arrived with nothing more than their bodies and their understanding of movement. The first challenge seemed impossible, a three-dimensional maze that reconfigured itself every 7 seconds. Participants had to navigate through while solving complex spatial and temporal puzzles. Previous teams had failed spectacularly, their technological systems overwhelmed by the maze's constant transformation. The human team didn't approach it as a problem to solve. They approached it as a dance. Jae Sung moved first. A breakdancing freeze became a moment of total spatial assessment. His body wasn't just moving. It was reading the environment, predicting its next transformation. Where a traditional approach would calculate, he would feel. Rodrigo's capoeira movements turned the maze into a living, breathing entity. Each kick, each spin was both a navigation technique and a communication with the environment. He didn't fight the maze's changes, he danced with them. The Russian ballet dancer brought a precision that made the maze's transformations look clumsy. Her movements were calculations made flesh, predicting potential paths with a grace that defied computational logic. Maya Rodriguez coordinated, her body a living communication network. Each gesture was a tactical decision, each movement a message to her team that transformed their collective response. Alien observers watched in mounting disbelief. Their most advanced tracking systems struggled to process what was happening. This wasn't just navigation. This was a complete reimagining of how intelligence could interact with environment. 12 minutes into the challenge, every previous team would have been eliminated. The human team not only navigated the maze, they had transformed it into something between a performance space and a tactical battlefield. When they finished, the maze itself seemed changed. What had been an impossible technological challenge was now something closer to a choreographed piece of performance art. The quantum computers tracking the performance began to overheat, their systems unable to process the complexity of what they had witnessed. "This isn't a competition," Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura whispered to the diplomatic observers. "This is a demonstration of a completely new form of intelligence. Humanity had just shown the galaxy that its most sophisticated technology was not something that could be built. It was something that could dance." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so silent. Delegates from hundreds of civilizations sat suspended between comprehension and complete bewilderment. The human presentation, a culmination of years of research, diplomatic encounters, and unexpected revelations, had transformed from a simple report into something closer to a philosophical revelation. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez stood at the center, no longer just a dancer or a military representative, but something entirely new. Behind her, a holographic display showed the journey, from the Tokyo Dance Battle to the Interstellar Movement Challenge, a narrative of human potential that defied every conventional understanding of intelligence. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura stepped forward, his quantum computational analysis projected around him like a living, breathing entity of data and movement. "Intelligence is not about processing power," he began, his voice cutting through the chamber's charged atmosphere. "It's about adaptation, communication, the ability to transform constraint into opportunity." The Zarn diplomatic team, now fundamentally changed by years of human dance instruction, listened with a mixture of respect and continued wonderment. Their own rigid hierarchical systems had been systematically dismantled by something as seemingly simple as a dance class. Maya's presentation was not a technical report. It was a performance. Each gesture told a story. Her body became a living demonstration of humanity's fundamental strength. Where other civilizations had developed technological solutions, humans had developed something far more sophisticated, a way of understanding the world through movement, through adaptive intelligence that couldn't be coded or manufactured. The holographic displays showed the progression. The Tokyo Dance Battle, the quantum computational analysis, the impossible simulation, the diplomatic confrontation, the cultural invasion, the Interstellar Movement Challenge. What had begun as a seemingly random event, an alien ship crashing into a dance championship, had revealed a fundamental truth about human potential. "We don't fight," Maya said, her final statement resonating through translation systems that struggled to capture its full meaning. "We adapt. We communicate. We dance." The philosophical implications were staggering. Humanity had demonstrated a form of intelligence that was simultaneously individual and collective, artistic and tactical, improvisational and precise. Dance was not just a cultural expression, it was a complete system of understanding and responding to the world. Alien civilizations that had viewed humans as a young, somewhat primitive species now saw something entirely different. Here was a species that could turn constraint into opportunity, that could communicate and survive through pure movement, that could transform potential threat into a form of art. Dr. Nakamura's final slide showed something profound. A comprehensive analysis of human movement across cultures, showing how different dance forms were actually sophisticated communication and survival systems. Capoeira, developed by enslaved Africans in Brazil, was a complete martial art disguised as a dance. West African traditional dance encoded complex environmental and social information. Breaking was a language of urban survival and adaptation. The Galactic Council was no longer just hearing a presentation. They were witnessing a fundamental reimagining of what intelligence could be. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez completed her presentation with a final movement. A dance that was simultaneously a tactical demonstration, an artistic expression, and a complete communication system. The chamber erupted, not in applause, but in a collective moment of understanding. Humanity had just shown the universe that its most powerful technology was not something that could be built or programmed. It was something that could dance.